Hi everyone, welcome back to Event Advice by CrowdComms. Today in this video we're going to be talking about event agencies and how we can really help with the UX and the support around agencies. And I'm joined today by Matt, our CEO, and an additional guest. We've usually got two chairs here, but actually we've got three today. So Rory's an account manager with us, and he's basically a specialist with our agencies that we work with.
Squeezed in a little one.
Yeah, I mean, he's between us to make us look.
A rose between two thorns.
That's the one. Well. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it, shall we? So we're going to start with the needs. So how does it differ? How do event agencies' needs differ to everyone else?
I'll start with the fundamentals, and then probably best Rory can cover off the subtle differences. But ultimately, whether it's an agency or whether it's a direct client, you have event planners whose objective is the same: to deliver amazing experiences for their audience.
Of course.
With an agency, as you would understand, they are specialists in events, and so a direct client will often use that agency, that intermediary, to elevate that experience, and also to enable that end client to focus on what they do, which is their main business objective, whether it's a tax business, a retail business. They want to be focused on driving those objectives and getting event specialists in to do not just the technology, but also the delivery and partnership. But the objective is the same: deliver exceptional experiences for their audience, to drive engagement, to drive innovation, to harbour collaboration. It'll be the same objective, it's just delivered with support.
Good stuff. So customization at scale, making sure that you can actually, use our tools across a range of clients rather than just for your own needs.
I think that's training. So you can perhaps touch on what we were doing last week as a prime example of how we're helping people best utilise the tech.
Definitely, it's a collaboration and empowering the agencies and the wider team ultimately, but also allowing them to show off their skill set. Ultimately, we're very much a conduit between what we do and the end client, and then within the limitations of our tech, we can then let them sort of elevate that and show what they can do, and then we sit there in the background giving the yeses and nos to what we can and can't do, and helping them elevate it. I
guess there's similarities between direct and agency, but we kind of try and embed ourselves as part of their team, don't we?
Definitely. It's, as I say, depending on the agency, we're either as a partner, working alongside them, and they can lean on us as the tech partner within that, or we are, we pull on whatever t-shirt we need to pull on the day and become just a tech support. So it does differ slightly in that way, that sometimes we are the hidden people helping rather than the forefront.
Historically, I think it was very much that we were kept at the background, and the agency would kind of add the gloss to our technology and create the, let's also be humble enough, the agency and the direct client have got the responsibility of creating the content, so that's the key bit, but we were helping to deliver that content. So we were kind of behind the scenes. What I think we're finding now is that genuine partnership, that genuine collaboration that Rory spoke of, where a company will say, look, we're going to be creating the content, we're going to be actually managing this piece of technology, but here's Rory, and Rory's from CrowdComms, and Rory's here to make sure that we best leverage the technology so that when we deliver that content, when we create those assets, it's absolutely perfect delivered on that piece of technology. So a little bit more openness, and that openness I think is more effective because it creates trust with the end client. There's no ambiguity of who's delivering what, it's very clear, and I think that's probably the future of genuine partnership between agency and the event technology company.
Is that how we onboard new agencies? So take me through the onboarding process.
Again, it does differ, but what Matt highlighted there is definitely the way it's heading towards. They're reaching out to us knowing what our capabilities are and what we can deliver and the quality of that, and then based on that, we're being introduced as a partner, a strategic partner in tech, depending on what we look after.
Okay. Do you know about the, what do you might not be, because we're not an agency, do you know about the limitation, the challenges of managing multi-events?
Well, if you manage one event, which we do, we manage our own events here, and a 100-person event is a hell of a lot of work, and it's not the technology that's often the time-consuming component of it. It is all of the other elements that come into managing an event. So I am acutely aware of how challenging it is to do one, let alone an agency who might be working with 3 or 4, 5 concurrent projects, each with probably, you know, budgets of, you know, sometimes millions of pounds. And so they're spinning a huge number of plates. They're genuine experts at doing that. And you've got to wear, I think in agency land, the friends that do it and work in it, and some friends that own agencies, they will be spinning so many plates. They are, you know, so good at spinning plates and ending up with amazing outcomes. So we've just got to, I think, understand that we play a part in it. We've got to be there, we've got to respond quickly, we've got to educate them to leverage it better. Talk about last week in London, you had 40 event planners, we were presenting to them about the roadmap, leveraging the features that are really, really appropriate for their events so they can go out to their clients and deliver more targeted engagement around the technology. So empowering them, educating them to be able to do this one component of it, because they are dealing with loads of other stuff at the same time.
And I suppose that takes us on to, you know, having multiple agency clients, having the empathy for knowing the struggles that they are going through.
Massively. It's being able to be very flexible from an account manager point of view, being able to dip in and out when's needed, being able to lean on our support team to help and upscale that support as well, because as Matt's highlights, they're spinning so many plates.
Yeah.
You know, and depending on the size of the events, the frequency of those events, then we've got to jump in when we need to, ultimately, and put on multiple different hats depending on what aspect of the event we're looking after as well.
Just a very quick point. Some of the smaller agencies will be subcontracting staff. So they'll have a couple of core staff and lots of subcontracting. And there is some kind of stickiness of staff in that environment, but sometimes you're retraining people on your technology every 3 events because they're bringing new people in, which is a challenge for us. The core staff, you know, of that smaller agency, it's their objective to make sure they onboard those people, which is a challenge. The bigger agencies tend to be more fixed with people, so you work with the same people for 6 or 12 months, and they're probably the type of organisation that we're probably seeing the most growth with.
Definitely.
We've got that very structured team.
And what you find is as well with those bigger agencies, they almost lean on some of our resources like the Knowledge Hub and build their own resource hubs.
Yes.
And onboarding for the technology, which is really interesting actually how they differ in the sense of we onboard, but it works really well for their teams.
I think that's a huge point actually. The stuff that we have done that resonates with agencies is that live chat where they've got quick responses. Boom, I need something. I'm with a client, I'm sat with a client, we need to give information on this, boom, it's there, and it's really quick response time. The guys are great. Yeah. And the Knowledge Hub, being able to go and keyword search for something so you can quickly deal with it. But we'll also, with those agencies, we're going to provide them with assets to put into their decks. I mean, the actual delivery of the event and our partnership in that capacity is one element of it. We're very often involved in generating business for them, or being involved in the process of winning pitches, giving them assets around the technology, something really tangible. So much of what they deliver is only tangible once it's delivered. You know, what does the food look like? They go and take the main client there to taste it, so you can do that. But we can actually show them what their app will look like, what their reg will look like, what on-site badging looks like, all the designs, their badge. We can provide them those assets in advance. It's really tangible at point of pitch. So that's really powerful. And Rory's great at either donning the hat, as we've discussed, or being there as representing CrowdComms, being that at point of sale, delivering the presentation and supporting the agency in winning that business.
Also, to extend on that even further is ROI on the product. So a lot of the time they're dealing with, you know, sponsors, partners, etc. within that. So where we can then show how that can be upsold within the events as well. That's been a huge help. That's
powerful, agency and direct.
Yeah.
From an agency perspective, if you're in a position to go in and say, look, we're going to drive you, we're going to manage your content, we're going to manage your speakers, we're going to do the branding, we're going to sort the food, we're going to sort the venue, we're going to fly people in, we're going to do all of this, but we're also going to enable you to generate £100,000 from sponsor revenue. That's a great selling, isn't it? Our services are going to cost £60,000, but we're going to uplift your sponsorship revenue by 100 by doing X, Y, and Z. Leveraging this technology makes that a far more compelling story and presentation and pitch.
And I guess that's where it turns from an agency buying in our technology to that partnership, more of a partnership, because we have insight, we have the wider knowledge of successful events. And I mean, they will have, obviously they will know what their successful events have been and what they did, but we also can bring bring that to the table from the tech side, can't we?
Absolutely.
Definitely. The thing is, over time, you learn the agency.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, as you say, it's that true collaboration and understanding the wider team and who they work with. So, yeah, definitely.
And they're all different. Different sectors require different approaches.
Okay, let's talk about the design and the UX and how important that is to agencies. Both, I think, both from a delegate point of view, because I'm not sure those positives of UX are going to be great for the delegate, whether you're direct client or you're an agency client. Yeah.
The thing is with an agency, if you're brought in as an agency, you are brought in to elevate an event. And elevate means you get things absolutely bang on. The branding is perfect. You are building a platform. It sounds so blimmin' simple. You create a piece of technology that meets your brand guidelines. Yeah. Sounds simple, not so simple in
no, there's not a huge amount out there that you can get really as close as you can with our platform.
That's why we are the agency platform of choice, because you can replicate brand better with our platform than any other out there, and they're there to really elevate that experience, to make sure that there is no compromise. You land on an event website and it replicates the brand guidelines of your core website. You do your form, it replicates. You turn up at a kiosk, it replicates. You look at your badge, it replicates. You're at the app and you're participating in engagement, and you just think that you're on a Nike product or a Google product and that Google have built it. That is what an agency strives for, is genuine perfection, is what our direct clients should strive for as well, and a lot of them now do. But the agencies demand it and require it to validate their involvement.
Yeah, it needs to look like a bespoke project.
They need to validate the involvement, which means really driving quality and elevating it.
What about the UX of the admin side of things? You know, if you've got staff turnover, you're bringing in partners here and there, you know, that's an important element as well, right?
It's got to be easy to use, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the bit that we don't, a lot of companies will think of their admin side of things, can sort of, it doesn't matter, you can administer it, it doesn't really matter what the UX of that is like, as long as the delegate UX is correct. I would say that we're quite good at actually prioritizing our enterprise software to be a beautiful experience that's easy to use and is familiar in each of the elements.
Prime example is this. I was interviewing a really experienced industry guy the other day, really good bloke, and he has looked at every single CMS and front end. He said, I knew that the front end was good because I see it so often at events and we compete against it and we know how good it is. He said, but this is exciting. What you're showing me now is really exciting. Because he said, I always assumed that once you get under the hood of this, it's going to be hard, and it couldn't be easier. And so it's, what can you can create something that looks as bespoke as we can with the detailing that we have, because you've built it and you're obsessive about this.
I didn't build it on my own, but
yeah. You've led the build of this.
I am obsessed with it.
But you're obsessed with it. But you're obsessed with simplicity. Simplicity, personalization, customization, scalability, a bit boring, but equally as important. Absolutely obsessive about those things, and that's the exciting thing. Create that wow in such a simple way, and that's, we were showing this chap, I won't say who, and he was like, oh my God, this is unbelievably simple to use. It was so, it validated all of the hard work that we make in making that happen. That's what agencies need. It's also what a direct client needs as well.
Yeah,
anyone.
yes. An
agency is, the perk of an agency, the benefit of an agency is you have a pool of talented people. If you've got 20 people who are really talented and day in, day out, they live and breathe the events and they're building it multiple times, they get to learn from more experiences of more different types of events. If you're in-house, equally as talented, but you're not as exposed to as many events. You're not as exposed to the different type of events, which means that your learning curve is different. You've got to obtain that learning curve elsewhere. What you find direct clients doing is that they will bring in agency, and there's like this evolution of moving people around because they know that the agency does have a unique insight into the events industry because they're exposed to so much.
Excellent. So it's not just about great UX, obviously, it's about when being there when you need to. And you touched on it a minute ago, Matt, about the great support that we offer agencies. Can we talk a little bit more about troubleshooting and just making sure that we're there all the time for agencies?
Troubleshoot, I mean, support, Rory, because you get involved in it, you are there to kind of support your clients, and you work with the support team a lot more than I do, so perhaps you can touch on that and how efficient we are. But troubleshooting slightly different. I mean, ultimately you troubleshoot. It doesn't mean troubleshooting doesn't mean when something's gone wrong. No. Troubleshooting is normally how can we do this more effectively, and I think that comes down to how quickly can I give people the information they need, and that often is live chat, and it is the knowledge hub, because 99.99% of the time they can achieve exactly what they want to achieve once they're given a bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
And then we learn from those nudges, don't we? And it feeds back in, and you make changes to the CMS so that if I'm being nudged a lot for a certain thing, that obviously means we haven't quite got the UX right, and so we learn from it. So I think that's how I envisage troubleshooting. If we talk about Dharma troubleshooting, then that's about having honest account managers who are available, who listen to what someone's going through, then feeds into a system where it's acknowledged, listened to, learnt from, resolved, and then communicated clearly.
Another way of troubleshooting that I like to look at as well is actually, it's almost pre-event, is understanding the scope of the event. When you're speaking with the agency, being really open about what's being achieved or looking to be achieved within that, and then understanding within the parameters that we have within our tech, can we do that? Can we leverage? Is there a way of doing that and achieving that? So that then stops those further down the line.
Identifying what could be a problem later down the line.
Also leaning on our support team, the guys on live chat, and drawing on our experience. Can this be achieved? Have we done this before? Looking at the wider team, making sure, have we done this before? And that makes a big difference further down the line as well.
Everything that we do is designed to avoid troubleshooting. Understand, like you say, understanding it beforehand, what they're trying to achieve, being really honest and clearly aligned with what those objectives are. Delivering what the platform can do, not what it could do, not what it's going to do, but what it can do, and delivering that.
So is that why we think there's more and more agencies coming to us? Is that why is it such a strong growth area? Is because of those things?
I think. It's a strong growth area because agencies, particularly now, are looking to generate revenue across all of different, production, food, venue, technology. So I think they really want to look at how technology can drive revenue for their business and for the end client. So that's always going to be here. And I think there's a realization as well that you don't want to get stuck in the middle sometimes, so you do want to lean on someone who does it every single day, in the same way that when I organise a big event, I will talk to an event agency and I will get them to do it, because it's not my specialism, is it? My specialism is building technology, or being involved in building technology for events. It's not in delivering that event experience, so I lean on their expertise. And I think there's just a change in psyche, that openness to say, right, they're the experts, let's get them involved and let's do it. And direct and agency, that's happening.
Okay, let's talk about the I word. Obviously, with lots of clients, you are looking at lots of different platforms that you need to integrate with. Big issue?
So agencies will either be involved in presenting technology, or they will react to technology that's presented to them. So an end client, lots of our clients have got master services agreements. When they contract an agency, they'll say, we're using CrowdComms. They might say, we're using CVEM, whatever it might be. So an agency sometimes will have very little say in the technology that is used. If they are pitching at very early on stage, they will look at the technology that fits best for the requirements. So they'll go through a process just as we do, where they'll be saying, what are you trying to achieve? What does success look like? And then they're going to match the technology. Our objective is to be as fit for purpose for as many of those briefs that come from the agency.
And we've got quite a flexible public API. We have a lot of agencies building integrations for themselves, don't we, with clients that they know are going to work with their system long term. If we don't have it in-house, they are more than happy to take the public API information and run with it.
Yeah, I think APIs, it's almost a hit word in the industry at the moment, isn't it? And we've leveraged it many times this year even. And in some cases, it's taken a step back from the API, and it's less efficient to create an API rather than use some of our templates to upload and download information. So it's finding the appropriate time to use it in most cases.
We're in a luxury of being able to deliver an integration.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You know, sometimes with work, and sometimes we'll have to say there's a cost involved, but we're working on ways to mitigate against that. But we're also in the luxury of being able to say, what are you trying to achieve with that information? What are you actually trying to do? What are you going to do with it? So if your CRM is your point of truth from a data perspective, do you really want me pushing back updated data from our system where they're changing the name, how it wants to appear? You want that to override your CRM? You know, surely we can be really quite forceful in saying, what are you trying to do with it?
Yeah.
Do you just want to know what they've turned up? They printed a badge. They registered these sessions. That's fine, we can give you a report on that. Do you really need it to go back and alter the CRM? What are you going to do once it's in the CRM?
Yeah, what did they do rather than their behavioural data rather than their actual core information that they might change on the day.
In a CRM, you want to know, who did I have meetings with? Who did they have meetings with? I get that. I'd want to know that as well. And it'd be great to not have it in an export. It'd be great if it's straight into my CRM. I understand that. Who did you meet with? Follow-up appointments. Powerful. But it's about really looking at what they need to get from it.
Do the metrics, do the key metrics that agencies are looking at, do they differ from direct clients?
Well, it should come down to what does success look like for your event, so whether it's a direct or an agency. I think agencies are required to validate everything because of the cost associated with their services. And validation normally comes in the form of data. So it'll be scrutinised more.
So adoption rates, engagement rates, ROI.
Yeah, 100%.
Exhibitors, things like that,
I don't think it's probably fair to say that a direct client won't look at the data. If they work directly with us, won't be looking at it with such much scrutiny as when they've got an agency. But if you brought an agency that adds £100,000 cost to your process, you're probably going to validate that data. So we've got an obligation. We've got an obligation, irrespective of whether it's direct or agency, but to give them clear data that demonstrates, did we meet the business objective? Is people just turning up a business objective? Yes, well, we met that. Is people attending sessions a business objective? Yeah, we did that. Did we actually deliver on the meeting objective? Yes, we did. Sponsor revenue? Yes. And how much engagement was there? Can we send out the sponsors, great news, you had this engagement? That's an obligation irrespective, but it's probably scrutinised more when an agency's involved.
Okay. How about data security? I mean, security is a big deal for everyone, if you're a direct client but an agency with multiple clients, data security's got to be key.
Look, that's a given, isn't it? I mean, that's an absolute given, has to be. I think the thing that they need to have from you is a team that are dedicated to demonstrate your info security. And you look at us here, if a company comes to us and says, look, God, we really need to reassure them around data. There's this person, I don't understand any of this, we need someone. Then we go, okay, well, you've got Dan and you've got Donna, and these are the times they're available. They'll jump on a call. Here's our security documentation, our ISO 27001, our SOC 2. Here's our most recent pen test. Here's the vulnerability tests. Let's jump on a call when you're available, and having the capacity, time, and expertise to reassure the end client. We're great at that. Okay,
thank you, gents. So it's quite clear to see that the registration, badging, event technology is a big part of any agency's offering. If you want to get in touch, there's loads of people like Rory, absolute experts in the technology. I'd be happy to help and talk you through what we can do. But until next time, we will see you soon.